Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Political Brown Kid here. I just want to chime in on this 50-50 thing because it's just been popping up all over the place. Like, well, at least in my algorithm, I guess, on YouTube. Um, and I just kind of want to make a comment on it. When you look at once again, and I've made a video on this topic that I'm about to discuss right now, is that what we're in and what we're seeing right now between men and women and relationship dynamics, or even really just men and women, period. You don't even have to be in a relationship with one another, because it just seems like women just hate men, and men are starting to resent women. They're doing it silently. See, the difference between that is a lot of men are resenting women, but they're keeping their mouths shut about it. They're really kind of just getting turned off by the behavior of women, but they're not speaking on it publicly. Number one, because it's not politically correct to do. So you're going to get in trouble if you do so. And then also the other thing too is that's just not in a man's nature for the most part. He's just going to kind of keep quiet about it. But women are publicly hating and shaming and crucifying men. And the reason why, too, is because we're living in a time shift. Like I said, we are in a sea change. You're coming out of an era where you're having women. Well, women have had rights since since a lot of the legislation of the 60s and 70s. So that really hasn't been the issue for the most part, but it's just like this feminist 2.0 movement has just kind of re-stirred back up some things that really just weren't even there, in the first place. And so, but women are kind of creating, because if you look at the women's movements, they all have ridden off of the backs of the civil rights movement. Anytime black people started fighting for rights or recognition and just kind of advocating for black suffrage, you've always seen the feminist movement come in and swoop in right on the heels of it. They did it with the March on Washington in the 1960s. That march, instead of becoming about black people's rights in America, it became about just everybody suffering, women's suffrage. It became about the crippled and it became about everything. So now when you look at this new movement, because you think about it, this women's movement didn't start popping back up until Trayvon Martin got himself taken off of this planet. Then you looked at Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland. You can go down through the list. You can go through the list of all of those occurrences that you had with blacks interacting with police and just the suffering that went on. And then all of a sudden, this women's movement popped back up, and it popped back up stronger than it did back in the 60s and 70s. And the one change too that came about now that you're dealing with is now you're dealing with Asian suffering. You're dealing with Asian hate. That's the new thing. You're dealing with Jewish hate. That's the new thing. And then also the brand new thing is the LGBTQ plus movement. That has taken off. And you look at it now, everyone has a month. Of course, black people got the shortest month, February 28th, Black History Month. And then what's the next month right after that comes in March? It's the Women's Month. March is Women's Month. It's always off of the backs of the black movement. So with that being said, I kind of digressed a little bit, but I think that history needed to be known. Once again, you're dealing with a sea change where you're dealing with traditional men and you're dealing with traditional women, and then you're dealing with modern women, modern men, or you're dealing with traditional women transitioning to being a modern woman because they're being influenced by the women's movement, and you're dealing with traditional men transitioning into being modern men because they're succumbing to the pressures of society, and or they're just embracing the feminist movement and the ideology. So what you're going to have, just like once again, like I said, when you're dealing with slavery and slaves coming out of slavery being free, there's a dance there. If you look at it, blacks and whites have been doing a dance since blacks have been free of, how are we supposed to treat them in society? I'm not supposed to call him a boy. I'm not supposed to do this. He's not colored. He's not a Negro. He's not a Negra. He's black. There's this dance that goes on where I have to learn the proper terminology to interact with you a black individual, and as black individuals, we had to we really didn't have to learn too much how to interact with white people. The only thing we had to learn how to do was not give them so much power, right? Kind of look at ourselves as being more peers as opposed to being beneath them. But with that being said, when you look at the male female movement of today, that's what you're seeing going on. You're seeing a whole bunch of, you have women complaining about men. They're complaining. So you're getting two different types of complaints. You're getting women that are complaining that men aren't quote unquote real men. And then you have to ask yourself, well, what does that mean? And what they mean by that is, the man is, not helping carry stuff for them. Like you had the woman online talk about no one helped her remove her TV and take it back into the store. Well, we're in modern times. Well, why can't you take your own TV back in the store? Because if I help out one person, what if I help you out and then you get offended because I helped you out? I actually went through a situation similar to that, where I saw a handicapped person going into a building that I was going into. This happened years ago. We were both going into the same building, and I kind of sped up a little bit so I could get the door for them. And they kind of looked at me, and you could tell the look. If looks could kill, I probably wouldn't be, deleted, but I definitely would have been. I would have taken some lumps because they gave me a look, but then they caught themselves, and then they were like, "Thank you." But you could tell it. He had to catch himself to do that. So you have to learn this dance of how do I interact and respect these individuals. And so that's what you're seeing with men. We're like, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to help this female out because she's a strong woman. If I help her out, I'm disrespecting her in some ways. And then if I don't help her out, now I'm being a creep. And I've seen it too. I had a white buddy of mine. We used to work together. And he used to always, he's like me, we come from a different era, I guess because we're older. So he used to like to hold the door for women. And when a woman walked through that, and some women walked through the door like he was like, that was his job. And he would get belligerent. Like he would start, being like, that was very rude and start talking very loud so that she heard him. But it was just the fact that a lot of times men feel disrespected because when we do chivalrous acts, sometimes they're not appreciated. And sometimes you're just trying to be nice. And sometimes, as men, we automatically think it's the thing that we're obligated to do, open up a door, do this or do that. And it's not being respected. And then also, too, you have to look at it. Some men are looking at it from the perspective of why should I have to hold on to traditional values when women aren't holding on to traditional values. So what I mean by that is, I'm holding the door. I'm doing all of these things that quote unquote a traditional man is supposed to do. Yet she's not reciprocating, whether it's, if it's a relationship situation, she's not, staying home and, taking care of the family. And she wants to stay home and she wants a maid, so it's kind of like, you look back at traditional times, most of those things weren't like that, except, during slavery times when, you had, plantation owners, they had, the slaves taking care and kind of being like the nannies for the children. And then but most people are just kind of like, didn't have those luxuries of being able to just be a housewife and do absolutely nothing but watch TV all day. So you're looking at men and men are rationalizing. And trust me, men, we are very cerebral creatures. We're looking at it like, okay, if you want it, well, if you don't want to be 50-50, if you want to be 100%, or even if you want to be 80-20, where I'm doing that, where the man is doing 80, well, why do you still get to keep your full-time job? You make just as much money as I do, but you get to squirrel away your money so you could possibly leave me, possibly be cheating on me, leave me, and then you built up this nest egg that you can ride off into the sunset with, and you want to get half of the equity in the home, and you want to get this, and you want to get, so the man's going to look at it from those perspectives. So that's why I say we are just in a very turbulent situation where you just have this, you're going to have this interaction going on for a long time until men and women figure out what are the specifics that we want. And so mostly what's going to have to happen is because this train has already left the station, and I don't see women backing away from it because they're being more progressive. And I think men are just going with the flow. So what people are just going to have to do is find somebody that complements them. And it's going to be pretty hard for both parties to do that. I think it's specifically more for women because a man, you look at society today and it really takes two incomes to run a household. It really does. And the primary reason for that is because it's partly because it's a lot of individuals' fault. People just want to buy bigger and bigger homes. They want McMansions. They want 5,000 square feet, even though it's only two people in the home, or even if it's three people in the home. They want these huge McMansions. They want nice cars. They want $1,000 upgraded phones every year. They just want to consume more. And so that all of that takes money, and you really can't do that. And to top it off, these women want to travel. If you look at women's dating profiles, all they want to do is travel and have fun and be entertained. So when you put all of those factors into consideration, it definitely takes two incomes to run a household. And then if it takes two incomes to run a household, a man's not going to look at you and say, okay, well, you're making money. You're making very good money. Why aren't you contributing at least 30, 40, 50%? Like, why can't we be 50-50? Because now he's looking at it like, why should I have to pay all of this stuff? And you want to be traditional, except when it comes to making money. So you understand we're more like hybrids. Everyone's like you're not an electronic vehicle. You're not an internal combustion vehicle. You're a hybrid. If women truly want to be taken care of, then you have to say, if I want a traditional man, I have to be a traditional woman. For the most part, I will say that's a general statement. There are going to be some men that are going to take modern women, of course, but I can't foresee a lot of men, being comfortable with you having a job, specifically a job making decent money. Now, if you're just working a job and you're just providing a little money here, he may say, okay, well, she's not making much. If you have a job making $30,000 a year, and he's probably going to be fine with you really not paying much, probably maybe utilities and maybe the cable bill or something. But if you're bringing in a relatively significant amount, specifically relative to what he's making, he's going to want or expect some kind of financial contribution to the household. And rightfully so, because you look at it from a man's perspective, I think it would be flat wrong for a woman to be able to make as much money as she can make, but not have to contribute anything to a house that she lives in, and a house that she probably really is going to dominate. Once again, I tell you all, women dominate the household. One day, I challenge any man to do this. While your female significant other is at work or away on vacation, I challenge you to rearrange the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, and the bedroom. Your bedroom that you all sleep in. Or even the kids' bedrooms. I challenge you to do any of that. And when she walks through the door, see what happens. She's going to make you put all that stuff back. When it is a woman's house, the paint colors that go on that wall is what she's going to choose. Y'all may pick it together, but for the most part, she's steering what colors she wants in the house. She's may passive aggressively steer you in a particular direction. She's gonna put the furniture in and configure it the way she wants to configure it. The kitchen definitely is hers. Not unless you're the chef and you're the cook. She may allow you to kind of put dishes where you want to put them because she's probably like, well, he does the cooking, so I'm going to leave that alone. The only rooms that a man is probably going to be able to dictate is the basement and the garage and the shed. Those are your three rooms that you probably going to have complete autonomy over. Those are the three rooms that she doesn't care about. The garage, the basement, or the shed. Those are the three rooms that you get. So I'm saying all that to say this is that a man is not going to pay for something that he knows he doesn't control. She controls the house. Why can't she pay something towards it, especially if she's making money and she has the money to pay for it? So once again, we're living in this sea change. When you're talking 50-50, 50-50 is relatively fair. It's a relatively fair thing. 60-40. I don't care who's paying the 60, who's paying the 40. 55-45. I don't understand why people are mad over 50-50. Why people are mad over contributing to a household, especially when it takes two incomes to run a household. So that's just my thought. I just wanted to drop that. And once again, I've made this video before, and I'm going to just make it again just in case, it needs to be refreshed. But it just goes to be said, if you want to be, have those 50 traditional values, you have to be you have to go back to traditional times. And like I said, I can remember, my grandmother's taking care of the house, my grandfather going out working. And, when your grandfather comes home, he gives the money to the grandmother because she saves the money away, and he gets a little allotment for his spirits, for his beverages, his adult beverages, and whatever little pocket change he may need. But she controls the bills, and she, squirrels away the money. But you can't do that today. You give your money to a female today and not know where it's going. It's going Cash App. It's going all over the place. And unfortunately, I have to say that. Maybe it's a lack of trust on my part, but you can't just give people money like that. He goes to work. She's probably doing whatever it is that she's doing. We have too much access to too much stuff in 2023. I'm telling you, go look back at it. Look at your grandparents back in the 1930s and 40s. And then when you go to the silent generation, they're probably like 70 to 80 years of age now. Or the nameless generation, they're the ones, they started going 50-50. That's the hybrid. You'll find some of them 50-50, some of them are not. Some of them are, stay-at-home traditional. But, I know with my parents, they were 50-50. They definitely were. Both of them worked. Both of them did what they did. And then, there were certain things that, your parents will say, your father may buy your mother a car and, and stuff like that, but she would kind of get additional like gifts and benefits. She would get the good stuff. But those are the way things operated. But now when you look at the current generation now, today, it's more than less likely you're going to be 50-50. So that's just my comments on the subject matter. Once again, this is the Political Brown Kid. Drop a comment in the comments section and definitely hit the like and subscribe button.